Audicratic Audio, where creatives break down process, discipline, and long-term craft. I'm Ab The Audicrat. Today's guest, Neff. What's going on, everybody? Ab The Audicrat here. This is the 4th episode of Audicratic Audio. And today I have a very special guest, producer, engineer, content creator, all-around great guy, Neff.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man. Happy you're here. We were just talking before we hit the record button.
Sure.
We met a long time ago in person briefly.
Yes.
And we've had some combos over the phone. I just want to thank you because you hit me with some gems over the years.
Word.
The handful of times we did have convos just about beats online, selling beats, connecting with people, stuff like that. So it's really good to get to have a full conversation with you.
I
finally.
love that. It's full circle. We're always trying to help each other out.
I was going to ask you too. I know you had a podcast thing going on, and you had a bunch of episodes up. Are you still doing that or no?
No, I was in a spot. I had just got a new manager, and we were just trying to figure out what things worked. You know what I mean? So we were trying a little bit of everything. We were doing regular content. We were doing the YouTube stuff. We were doing the podcast. And now what the podcast is kind of transformed into is the new community that I just opened up, Gentleman's Board. So it's kind of now that's going to be the same thing-ish, but just a little more private.
Right. I was going to ask you about that too. I saw you post about it, and I had a couple questions because I've checked out the site you're doing it on before. It seems really legit.
The school one?
It's
super dope.
So we'll dive into that. That seems like a really cool thing. It kind of seems like almost not so much like a Discord, but you're having your own your own group, your own community kind of thing, but in a much different way than what a Discord does.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. We'll get into that for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Real quick too, I know a lot of people probably know about your background and follow you, but just for the sake of the pod, why don't you fill us in? Where you're from, where you grew up, and maybe when you started getting into music.
So growing up, I grew up in Maine and New Hampshire. Grew up in Kittery, Maine, and then when I became an adult, I moved to New Hampshire because it was tax-free, all that kind of stuff. It was just easier living, better pay, all that kind of stuff. But then getting into music, I don't know, my family was really always into music. My mom and dad are kind of hippie and free loving and all this kind of stuff. And my dad would sing opera or listen to classical music all the way through while he's painting his paintings. And, we always had a piano, even if nobody was playing it, but we always made sure that we had a piano in the house. My dad knew how to play, and every once in a while he would. He knew how to play guitar. Every once in a while he would if he found one. But I was always into music somehow. One of my first memories was just me being 5 years old, and it was an African drum that I got from my mom and dad, a big one and a set and everything. And I just remember falling in love with that. But then really getting into music, I was 14, 15, probably more like 15 years old. I was dating a girl in Maine, and actually, the funny story is her cousin had just got out of either jail or prison. I can't remember. But he came and he was living at her house in the spare bedroom. And he had a huge record collection. His name was Brandon. And he had a big record collection. He scratched records. And he had an MPD. I don't think it was an MPC, I want to say. I can't remember exactly. But he had a little setup going on. And I don't know what it was, but I was just so obsessed with what he was doing. For me, the first attraction to music, I wasn't one of these people that was oh, I'm such a fan of hip hop, I need to create hip hop. I get that. That's most people. I'm a fan of hip hop. Now I want to create hip hop. Me, I was a fan of everything, and I was a fan of doing stuff. So when I found that you could manipulate the music with scratching, that was the first thing that introduced me into doing real music. I had done drums. Guitar. I had tried violin for a week. I had tried all these different things as a kid. But for some reason, it was this whoa, it's already there. The music's there, but I can make it my own. I can manipulate it. I can do what I want to do. I can change it. and it was so dope. And Brandon, he just had me get a pair of needles, and he was like, "All right, you can scratch my records. You just got to have your own needles because I don't trust, you know what I mean? I don't trust you using my needles," which is totally fine. Even him just letting me use that was dope. And after that, I started buying records. I got the Roland 404. That was my first drum machine I ever got, which is hilarious because now everybody wants to have one of those for their shows, and they're dope. But I had the Roland 404 and an MPD like 12 or some weird like Akai drum pad that was a controller only. No screen on it or anything. And I didn't have any friends to help me out. I was like making a beat for 3 minutes, like no loop, just trying to like stay on beat for 3 minutes and all
I
this.
did that in my early days as well. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I was having fun. I was having so much fun. I'm like 15, then I'm 16, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna sell weed so I can get a turntable. And at that point in time, the QFO by DJ Qbert and Vestax had just dropped, and it was a turntable and mixer all in one. And it was like the coolest scratching thing you could ever imagine. I don't know how it didn't stay popular. It was real. It blew up right then and there. And I was like, all right, I'm going to sell some weed and I'm going to buy that. And that was like my life goal. And then I got caught selling weed and I went down a wrong path. And I was down that path for a while until I got sober at 17. And then like 18, 19 is when I got my first pair of Techniques. 18, 19 years old. And that was it. That was like, I bought a pair of Techniques and like a local DJ's whole record collection, which was like 7 crates of records, 12 crates of records, whatever. It was something kind of light, but it was enough. And it was like a whole crate of Wu-Tang, half a crate of Nas. Like, it was so dope just to like figure out what this DJ was listening to and what I could get into, and then just practicing scratches all day. But then shortly after, there was this dude, Def Rock. Shout out Def Rock. He has a studio in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and he was an older gentleman. Him and his son were DJing and rapping at the same time, where his son was his DJ and he was the rapper. And he was like, he had all the old school stuff going on. He had Adidas, he had Gazelles, he had the whole style. You could like, nobody else in that area was touching his style. Nobody was messing with his beats. And he just had like, he brought me over to his studio one day, which he called the dojo. It's like samurai swords on the walls, all this cool stuff. And then like these old keyboards and MPCs and rack mounts. And I just remember being like that was my first introduction to a real production studio. And I saw him use it.
And how old are you at this time?
I was probably like 19. And I just remember being like, how do I do this? And he was like, yo, get an MPC 1000, do this, do that, and just start. And he told me about stems, and I had no clue about stems, what the fuck he was talking about, nothing like that. And I just got the MPC, and you know what? I should have like gone to his house every day or something like that. But I just took that. I went on YouTube. I talked to people, and then I just like figured it out on my own. But that was the start. That was the start. It was him. It was my turntables. It was the selling weed. It was the getting the MPC 1000, not knowing what I was doing. And that started the journey for me. That was like I made like 300 beats before I ever said that this beat I'm going to keep.
Wow.
Yeah, I trashed the first like 300 beats I made. And I was just like, I wasn't ready. And now I'm going to start over and be good. But it was all a learning process. And for me, I feel like because of the time, because of what I was using, everybody was starting to use digital stuff at that point in time. Everybody was like on Fruity Loops or this or that. MPCs were kind of going out of style. The MPC Renaissance had not dropped yet. It was about to drop. So there was nothing digital, and everybody wanted to switch to digital. So I didn't really have anyone that was like helping me figure out how to use the machine. But I looked like a serial killer. I was like, I had sticky notes everywhere. I had my board. I was like, this is what I do. This is how I'm going to do it. This is what I'm going to try tomorrow. This is what I'm not going to try tomorrow. And it was just fun. It was a really great process. It took a while, longer than most, but it was a really great process starting out.
Few things I want to touch on too. So speaking for myself, I started on, just keyboards from like Radio Shack. And like you said, I was playing the beat for 3 minutes and there was like onboard sequencers and stuff like that. And then it was just a complete jump to digital. Like I never used MPCs. I never had records. I never DJ'd anything like that. So I wish I did take that path and had records and really went down that
Yeah.
way. Because I feel like if I did that, it would have been a transition, like you said, into the hardware. And then you kind of get that sound and that just part of the culture
Huh.
and
It's like
that
a
side of
training. It's like a
production.
training.
Right. And like I went straight to digital. So I went right to, because I went to school for music. I was around all these
Mm.
people in my program that we were bouncing ideas off one another through Fruity Loops and Pro Tools and all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff. So I wish I had that though. I wish I actually did have a lot of hardware, but a lot of the hardware I did have was very short lived. It was all throughout high
Mm.
school. I had a drum machine I think I utilized for like maybe a year, but it was like straight to digital. So
Yeah.
I think you having that is a huge step up that definitely rounds you out very nicely. And I've seen you live with the cuts, and I know you're very, very good with the cuts.
Thank you,
So,
sir.
that comes obviously after many years.
Yeah,
So
after many years, but I think what that did was it gave me a little I don't know what it gave me respect for, but it gave me this sense of respect for making beats. Of like,
well, I think because you have to be more hands on with all like the analog stuff from back in the day. Like digital is arguably easier in many ways. In many ways, maybe it isn't, but in a lot of ways, it is.
no, in a lot of ways it is. There's just more to it. There's just more things that you can do, so you have to learn a little
Right.
longer. But I'm using like 6-prong MIDI keyboard stuff with the MPC 4000, with the MPC 3000. I'm using like the Korg Triton rack mount with the 3000 and the floppy disks. And I'm like 20 years old. It's 2010. Like, no reason why I should be doing this whatsoever. Like, no fucking reason. But I'm doing it and I'm gaining this respect. I'm gaining this love. I'm gaining this, like, paying my dues for it. And it was really just a beautiful experience.
I tried going backwards over the years, but it's very hard for me. You know what I mean? I've had some MPC
Yeah,
products
yeah.
over time. I just got the MPC sample, which is really
Oh, you
dope.
got that?
I
Oh, I
did
wanna
get that. Yeah,
so bad. I've been looking
it's
at
pretty
it.
sick. And the main reason I got it was to really have something for like something live. Like if I'm going somewhere to play live beats, sometimes I do. I haven't done it in a while. I hate using just like a phone or an iPad, and I don't have tables. So I have this
Yeah,
thing, which
yeah, yeah.
is something.
It's something.
Yeah, if I like want to just have a
Mhm.
fader. But again, like I just got that really to be able to cut something quick because I'm not great. I'm not really good at cuts. I can do the
Yeah, yeah.
basics and then edit it on the back end. But the MPC sample is really dope because it's basically like a SP404.
I was gonna
where
say
you
it's
could
kind of
still
like how
add.
people can perform with the SP404,
Right.
but it's
Yeah.
the
It's
Akai
very
version
similar,
of
I
it.
think.
I think that's kind of what
Exactly.
they
And
wanted
like the
to
pads
do.
are great. It pretty much is that. And then I'm sure there's huge differences between the two. I had a SP404 for a very short time. And it was
Yeah.
just not something I ever would use. So I got rid of it. This is something I could keep for a while and utilize much more for live
Mhm.
performance. But it is awesome because it's more of an entry level thing. So
Is it?
this is something that, yeah, I mean, it's because it's much more basic. There's effects. There's a lot of stuff you can do with it, but it's not a full-fledged MPC with endless, way more capabilities, but it's very
enough.
capable. But I guess, yeah, what I'm saying is just like a good entry level.
Yeah.
So out of all the times I attempted, like I had an MPC live,
You
it was
did?
not for
Oh,
me.
see, the live is the shit.
But again, like this goes back to like when I started, I jumped to my big thing is I need a mouse and keyboard.
Mm.
Like I'm very mouse and keyboard oriented.
Well, you gotta go with what fits your personality.
Yeah.
You
And
have
and
to.
I've realized that the times I try, let me try to get this, let me try to do this, it just almost never works.
Mhm.
So I'm always keyboard and mouse. It's just the way that I do things. I could play, I have pads,
Yeah, 'cause I see you with the
different
keys and
devices I
everything.
have. Yeah. So like I am hands-on, but when it comes to actually like producing and arranging, I personally really like having
Yeah,
the
yeah,
keyboard
for
and
sure.
mouse. But I wish I could kind of go off and on, but that's not something that was built into me early enough, like somebody like yourself. So I've tried.
I don't
I've
know
tried
why
many
I did
times.
that. It just happened to be, I think, the people that I was around at the time or whatnot, but it worked that way.
Yeah, I didn't have anybody really that had that type of
Mhm.
equipment that I really knew of. Like there was a local guy that me and my friends linked with once or twice who had all this
Yeah.
stuff. And he helped actually did make a beat on, I think it was an MPC. See, this is how bad I am with like the
Uh,
models. I think it was either the 1000 or the is it 2000, 2500. I'm
oh,
not even
that's the
sure.
best.
And he like walked me through it.
Uh-huh.
So like it was cool. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. But then again, that was right before college. I went to
And then
college and
you
then it
yeah,
was
then
just
you learned
Fruity
everything.
Loops. I used Sony Acid and then Pro Tools like shortly after. And it's
Yeah,
just
and I was
pretty much been
using
that the whole
Ableton
time.
when I for a long time too when I first started. But I was only use Ableton just for recording. I wasn't using it for the production. I tried one time. For me, I was like, I can't do the mouse. I just can't. My brain is like, I need to be like
Yep.
all over the
I get it. Yeah.
place. My ADHD, my OCD, whatever it is. It was just like that. Whereas, like, Static, one of my mentors, Statik Selektah, he uses a mouse and he kills it. You know what I mean? So everyone has their own method.
I think it's just really good to know like what is your method, because I think sometimes it's easy for people to just bounce around and try this and that, and then they might not really be, making as much as they could be making. When it's just, hey, just be honest with yourself, and that's. I had a moment years ago, and I'm like, I am a keyboard and a mouse guy.
There it
Like
is. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just need that. Period. And I also like having the ability to use like a lot of VSDs and plugins like as I'm producing. Like
As
I'm
it's
big
going
on
on.
doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
It could, and that could be a dangerous road. You know what I mean? You could start over mixing when you really should be producing. But I found a good balance.
That's
But
good.
that's just me.
Yeah.
But I think if you like you did, you started young on that. You're gonna always have that, and you're probably gonna fall back to
Mhm.
that because that's what you started on. So it makes
Yeah,
sense.
no, definitely, definitely. And it was like for me, I was like doing this thing where I was working in kitchens. I had some money, so I'll be like, I'll buy this MPC, see how I like it for a while. Then, okay, I don't think this is the one. Let me buy another MPC, have both of them at the same time, then sell the first one on eBay, doing like a little MPC hustle, flips, whatnot, and then just like then landing like 12 years ago, I started using the MPC Studio, and that is like completely gone. It was like the MPC, it was the smaller version of the MPC Renaissance. So they always do like a bigger version and a smaller version. So like they just came out with the XL now. I'm sure they'll come out with like a smaller one too. But like they did the Renaissance and the Studio, then they did the Live and the MPC One. And then they tried to do another Studio, it didn't really work. And now I think the MPC One
See,
is
I think
mostly
I
the
actually
Studio.
had the newer studio. I think I had that a handful of years back where I wanted to try to get into chopping in the MPC world, but do it more, obviously in the
Yeah, doing
digital,
the
but even that,
digital.
I think I ended up selling that. So I did have that, but I do know the one you're speaking of, the first
Yeah,
model.
the first
I think it
model,
was
and it
like
still had the
silver.
screen on it and everything. Like you could use it almost standalone, but it was just like you could use everything on the screen, which that's what I love. Is like I'm doing this, and then I'm like, ooh, a plugin. Okay, let me go switch to the computer. Okay, cool. And now I'm gonna do this. Okay, now let me chop in the computer with my mouse, kind of just fade it in, whatever. But it's been good for me for a long time, and I just haven't really had a need to switch.
Oh, is that what you're still using
Yeah,
now?
it's
The
about
first
been
version of the
almost
studio?
12 years.
Because the newer version of the studio doesn't
It
have the
doesn't
screen,
have
I
the
don't think,
screen. Yeah, yeah, it doesn't have the
which is
screen. And I
helpful.
used the MPC. Static gave me his MPC Renaissance for a long time. So I had that for about like 4-ish.
And that's the big
Yeah,
boy,
that's the
right?
big one. That's dope. I
Yeah.
love that one. That one feels like the most old school of all of them. And I had that for maybe like give or take 4 years, and then he needed it back, and now the same one was used for the Nas and Primo album with like half the beats on
Oh,
there.
that's amazing.
So it's like it's dope. I was like, oh man, that was Statics, but like I also made like hundreds of beats on that one, and now I'm seeing it with Nas and Primo. Like that one
Crazy.
machine has done a lot.
I mean, it's really the best hardware you can get production, I think. I mean, at least in the hip hop world. I mean, all my keyboards are all Kai. Like I
Mhm.
use Reason exclusively pretty much for production. I do dabble in Ableton too, which is dope. We'll get into that as well.
Yeah, but
What I was
Reason
going to ask you
users
too,
are
and
very
a special bunch.
yes.
Because a lot of the people that use Reason, I think I'm one of the odd ones out in terms of how I use it, because a lot of people are really analog heads,
Mm,
and then they use Reason because
it's
it's very
it is. Yeah,
analog-ish and
yeah,
it
yeah,
looks
yeah, for
like it's
sure.
analog. So people that are really into the synth world, like all that stuff, it translates
Mhm,
over. That I don't really use it in that way. I use it in a different type
mhm.
of way. You know what I mean? The
Yeah,
way like a hip hop producer would. So I've been in groups and forums and stuff, and
I love
like
it.
I hear people and like they really nerd out on that stuff, and I'm kind of like, I got nothing to offer here because
Yeah, yeah.
I just don't
You're like,
really
I just use it
utilize it
for
for
what I
that. But
use, you know?
right, and some people do as well, but at least in hip hop, not a whole lot of people use Reason that I've seen. Some people do for sure.
Not a lot, but I've
Um,
seen it. I've seen it, and the people, and like I
yeah, oh
said, the
yeah, for
people that
sure.
use it will like never use anything else.
I've been using it since I was
Yeah,
20.
there
I
you
mean,
go.
I think I started it, yeah, in
Mhm.
college in one of my classes. I learned it, and it's just I
Very
love it. Yeah, there's
intertwined in
a
itself.
lot of good things. There's some there's some things that aren't nearly as good as other software or hardware products, but it's my personal go-to probably will always
Yeah,
be.
yeah. And now do you mix in there or do you mix in Pro Tools?
So if I'm just doing a beat, I usually keep everything in Reason. It's very rare if I
Okay.
stem everything out, put it in Pro Tools, and mix in there,
That's what I
unless
do.
I have recorded somebody. Sometimes I do that. It really depends. But for most of the time, I do everything in Reason. If I'm just like if I'm posting a beat video, if I'm sending out beats with like a very solid like pre-mix. Oh yeah, it's all in Reason. I do it
Well,
all in there, and I have a really good template set up for
templates are the
quick.
best.
Yeah, just like a quick access to everything I need for all my drums and the mix bus and everything. And then, and like I said, if I'm recording vocals and mixing that way, then I'm definitely throwing everything into
Mm,
Pro Tools
okay.
and finishing it in there. But I use Pro Tools all the time too. That's my other
Yeah,
half
yeah.
of
I
everything.
mean,
So
with me,
recording, mixing is Pro
it's
Tools.
the same thing as, but I'll take my stems. I won't even make an intro or anything. I'll just take like all my loops and put it in song mode in the MPC and then put it and then export it out and then put it in Pro Tools. But that's, I mean, for me, it's because of like working in studios in the city so much, you gotta kind of be like ready. So I was like, all right, every beat that I have, I need to have it in a Pro Tools session. So if someone wants to rap to it, it's already there. So I would make like a template with the beat, mix it, but then also add in to the template all the stuff for recording vocals that day. So as soon as it got picked, I would be ready to record the vocals with the mix, with the stems, with everything, you know?
It makes sense. If you're in the studio with artists all the time, totally makes sense. You just got to be one step ahead. And especially like with MPCs, I mean, they're not really built to mix on. I mean, I know the newer versions have a
They
lot of
got
great
yeah, they got
software
their
in it.
things, but it's not full.
Whereas Reason, I mean, you could use, they have really dope effects built in, and then you can use third parties. So
Yeah, you can use
you
third
can do
party now,
all,
right? The last like 5
yeah,
years?
yeah. So that's why for me, it's like I can mix the beat pretty much to my
Mhm.
liking in Reason for the most part. But yeah,
Yeah.
when it comes to vocals, I'm always bouncing everything out and putting in Pro Tools
Gotcha.
myself. So yeah, I totally get that. Pro Tools is where it's
Yeah,
at for
yeah, Pro
mixing,
Tools
editing audio.
is
It's
just, I mean, there's a reason why it's
I'll
a
never not
standard.
I'll never not use Pro Tools. That's one thing I'll
And you went to
probably
school for Pro
never
Tools
stop
too, I'm
using.
sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We had a studio there. Took a handful of I think like two or maybe like two Pro Tools classes, and I got like a certification. It was very basic stuff, like how to pitch vocals and things like that. But yeah, I worked in the studio there and got some hands-on experience recording people, so that definitely helped. Like without that, I mean, I probably would have dove into YouTube or
Yeah, yeah,
tried
for
to find
sure.
somebody. But obviously, being there was great, so I did learn a lot about Reason and Pro
Mhm.
Tools there, which is good. So at what age did you decide on moving to New York? What was the plan there? Was it something guided by music, or did you just want to kind of get out of the town you were in? Like, tell me about that.
So I was doing music in where I was. I was living in New Hampshire, this place, Manchester, New Hampshire. I was DJing all the time. And for some reason in my head, as soon as I started making beats and realized that's what I wanted to do, I was like, I have to fucking move to New York. I have to. Like, there's no way around it. And I didn't know what that was going to look like, but it was always in my brain, like, I'll live in New York. And, I was dating a girl at the time. We were going to get married. I panicked. I was like, I have to go live my life and try this before I get married. I'm not ready for this. I need to go just do what I do with music. And this woman at the time that I was dating, she said, okay. And we talked about it for a while. And then I just said, I have to move. And I was like, you can either come with me or you can stay. She came with me and we moved to New York. And it was strictly to get where I wanted to in the music industry. It was to find my tribe. It was to go see what was going on. It was me being frustrated being on the internet and not getting any luck on the internet. Me thinking I could do BeatStars and do this and do that, and then just still all I'm doing is cooking and DJing. And I'm like, I really want to like make beats and work with big artists. Why can I not land a placement with an email? You know what I mean? And it was so hard for me to do that. And I just said, fuck it one day. And I said, I'm going to move. And I quit my job. I made a plan. I found a job in New York City that was shit. And I moved and I had just enough money to float for like a month or two and to have my rent. And I took a leap. Probably wasn't even the smartest leap to do in most people's opinions. It was probably premature. I didn't have enough money. Like I didn't know anybody. I had no friends in New York. Nothing.
How old were you at this time?
I want to say about 26 years old is when I moved to New York. And because I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary.
I thought you were older. I thought you were closer to my age. That's why, like,
I'm
I paused
35.
right there. I'm thinking, like, all right, because I'm 40. I thought
Oh,
you
no,
for
I'm
some reason,
35, yeah.
I thought you were a little bit closer to my age. That's why I was kind of like 10 years.
It's the
The
beard.
math in
It's
my
the
head was not
beard.
mathing, but well, no, it's good for you, man. I mean, 10 years. I mean, that's great. You made it work. I was actually in New York for a year when I was 30. I went down there for a year. Kind of similar. Like, I didn't really have solid plans. There was a studio that I interned at, which was really dope, and I met some people there.
Mhm.
But I was working in restaurants myself, and I couldn't swing it. Like, I tried for
It's
a year.
hard.
It just didn't work, and came back. But I'm glad I gave it a try. Met
You gotta at
some great
least
people
say that
down
you
there.
gave it a try. And that was my whole thing was
Yeah.
I was like, I can't be 50 years old or 45 and go, I never gave it a try.
That was a big part of it for me too. I was like, I got it. I knew somebody down there. They got me in at Lounge Studios, which is in Hell's Kitchen. And yeah, that would have, I was there for like 6 months, but again, like it was just
Well,
an
you were
internship,
okay, it was
unpaid.
an internship. You weren't making really
Yeah.
money
And
off of it yet.
no, I wasn't making anything. So I was just working at a bar and doing that. And it was I just could not swing it. It started getting tough. Then I stopped the internship even before I came back up. I was just working more in the restaurant world.
Yeah, because you had
And yeah,
to. Yeah, I get that. I get
yeah,
that.
and back then I didn't really have any serious idea or plan on monetization really.
Mhm.
And this is something I'm still figuring out now, but yeah, I'm glad I went down. It was a good time.
Yeah.
Learned a lot. I learned a lot about mixing too, just sitting in the
Well, I'm
studio
sure
with some of the engineers.
just
So
watching all
yeah,
that, the internships is really dope. And I will always tell people get an internship because like that's what I did, but it wasn't an official internship, but like I interned and like worked for free for many years and that was like my way of paying dues, my way of getting in and it's real. It's very real.
On that note, tell me about Static, how you met him. It seems like he was instrumental, really, in
Very.
when you were down there, and really kind of set you
Yo,
on your
yeah.
path. So, how did you meet him? And oh, still, yeah, how did you meet him, and how'd that start?
So I moved down there and I had DM'd him because on Twitter, just straight up Twitter, because I had worked with an artist that he had worked with when he was in high school, local guy back home. And I was like, hey, I just worked with Bug Out. Shout out Bug Out. Love Bug Out. That's my guy.
Wait, where's Static from again?
Static
Originally?
is from Methuen. He grew up in Methuen, and then middle school and high school, or a little bit of both, just like a little bit. He was in New Hampshire, and then he was in like right as soon as he moved out of the house, he was in Boston. You know what I mean? So he was a little bit all over the place, but he was in New England, Boston, New Hampshire, a little bit of both. So like me and him had shared some of the same friends where like I was in New Hampshire doing the local scene and the guys that he did that with were still in the local scene. And I was doing stuff with them. And so he was like, "All right, cool. So I'll pay attention to this kid. I'm sure whatever went through his brain, I don't exactly know, but what he saw was he saw someone that was hungry. He saw someone that came to New York, asked for advice, and then took the advice. And that's what it was he said, I asked him for advice and I wanted this grandiose plan. 1, 2, 3, 4, you made it. You know what I mean? I wanted like everything to be dialed down. And he was like, go to hip hop shows. People need beats. Go to as many hip hop shows as you can. And I was like, are you serious? That's what you're going to give me right now? And then I started doing it and I was like, oh, I kind of see what he's saying now. Like, this is where everyone lives. But then I would like message him every day. Hey, I'm going here. Hey, I'm going there. Hey, I'm going here. I'm going there. Because I wanted him to know I'm taking his advice. And I wanted him to know I'm really doing this. and I'm taking it seriously. And then after that, he started like putting me on lists here and there. And then like one day he put me on a list and we hung out. And then I was like, oh man, then he ditched me.
I mean, is it safe to say that was probably a test on his parts to make sure that you would go to shows?
Exactly. I think it was a whole test. I don't know. He could say the same thing, but he might say something different. I don't know. But that's what it felt like. It felt like a test. Is this kid going to take me seriously? You know what I mean? And then I did. And he saw me. He saw me hustling CDs outside of shows and like waiting in line and all this kind of stuff. And then, that led to going to his studio one day with the artist that I was friends with that had a session with him. And that led to this, that led to that led to me just hitting him up. Hey, can I now just hang out in the studio with you? And him letting me hang out in the studio with him. And then it led to me cleaning up his studio. And that was life changing. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
cleaned up when I was interning at the studio. I was cleaning up constantly too. I guess that's part of the gig.
Cleaning up his studio changed my life. One day, I'm OCD. I couldn't take it anymore. His studio was a mess. He's got people there all the time. It was at this point, blah, whatever. And I cleaned his studio, found an iPad he forgot he had, found this, found that. And what I did was I added value to his life. It's exactly what I did. I added value to his life. I said, hey, I'm sober. I don't mind cleaning up after people, and I'm around and I drive. And those things are huge. Though
Right.
having a sober driver in the city is amazing. Having someone that is humble and will clean up after is amazing. All these different things, what I did is what I guess he needed at the time. I don't know, but we started just chilling and vibing. And I was like, the first year I was pretty quiet. That's all I was really doing. I was just a fly on the wall, just soaking up game and saying, yeah, my name's, at that point, I was DJ Nefarious. At that point, I was DJ Nefarious and I wasn't even Neff yet. And I was just soaking up game and introducing myself. That's it. With him, he's always had somebody kind of like that. And I learned what they did and what they didn't do. And I was like, let me be better than everybody else. That was my biggest thing. I was like, all right, he had this person, I'm not going to say his name, before me. He had this person before him. And I was like, let me just handle everything as much as possible. You know what I mean? Make his life easier.
And it seemed to pay off, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
He kicked,
amazing to have a mentor like
he
that,
kicked me
for how
game.
legendary he is. Yeah.
He made me better at beats. He made my bass lines are fucking sick now because he complained about them. You know what I mean? Saying they were off tuned. I didn't know how to tune the bass to the sample. That would be off, and you know what I mean, like things like that. And he showed me the ropes. And then Term came in there and he showed me the ropes too. You know what I mean? They both did.
I was going to lead into that too. Before we do that, fun fact: I did a beat battle a while back in the city for a company called I
I love
Standard.
our standard.
My
Yep.
first, yeah, my first guest, Rhythm J. I went to college with him, and he started with them like in 2008 when he was down in the
Yeah,
city.
yeah. I've seen him
Yep.
involved with them.
Yeah, he's a man, and Statik judged the one that I was at, and he was really cool, man. He had some dope words. I didn't end up winning or placing, but that was the first time
I'd be
I
really
think the only time I
curious
actually
as
met
to
him in
like what he
person.
would
But
say because I feel like he would actually say some real stuff instead of like the basic.
luckily, I mean, none of the judges, I don't remember them really saying anything bad per se. They weren't necessarily praising either, though. You know what I mean? It was kind of like a middle ground, but like there was
I always
very
just want the
minimal, like,
truth.
I don't remember really it being, because I remember being on stage kind of like, oh my gosh, like they like the beats, like at least enough to not shit on them. Because some people were just getting shit on. Like
Oh, at that
all
session,
the
there was other people
judges.
actually getting bad.
Yeah, I mean, there was 3 judges. I think it was Statik and 2 other industry judges of some sort. I forget at the time. Statik was just a big name to me. Like, I got to go down to this because Statik's,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
he's the
Yeah,
judge.
yeah, definitely,
But
especially with our standard.
and I was like probably midway out of all of them, all the people that were in the showcase, and I was like watching, like, damn, these dudes are getting like torn apart. Some of them, like
Woo!
for how bad the
Yeah,
beats sound, and some people were really dope too. But I was like, oh man, they're probably gonna, who knows what they're gonna say. But I got up and
right.
yeah, I mean, there was really good. They said a lot of good stuff, and they probably said a couple things like, oh yeah, like your drums, this and that. But it was very, for my first time doing something like that,
Oh,
it
that's
was
dope.
pretty safe. It was
Yeah, yeah,
pretty
yeah,
welcoming,
definitely.
which I thought was cool. But I think I saw him outside, and I think I was like, yo man, like big fan, blah blah. He was cool, but that was one time I met him. But fun fact,
Mm.
that was
I
2000,
did
that was
2 high
2008, I
standard
think, a long
events.
time ago. Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a couple. But yeah, they're great, man. Like that was great. Those guys that ran it, really great. Jay Hatch,
Jay Hatch,
R.I.P.
yeah, oh my
Um,
god, I can't
what?
believe that. That's
Yeah, what a great
crazy.
guy.
He was such
I
a big
know.
part of that, and he struggled for a long time with his cancer.
Yeah, no, and he beat it at one point,
Yeah.
like, or he was in almost, I think, almost complete remission. Like
No,
they
he
obviously
was, yeah,
came
I thought
back
he
and,
was.
and took him. I was lucky enough too. I went down and went to a couple studio events that he did because it went from iStandard to like these. I think it's called like creative space events he was doing. So he didn't do it at bars anymore. He just had them in studios, and he had a lot of them at IMI Studios. And I went down there for one. I think I went down there for another thing with a licensing company that I'm a part of with Rhythm J, and he was also a co-founder.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, he was the man, dude. He was such a good public speaker, really motivating. He knew everybody, like he just knew everybody in the
I think
industry. So it
Rhythm
was
J
cool to be
was
able to.
part of, the second one that I did.
Oh, he might have been, yeah, because he was there early on. I mean, I think 2008, all the way, not all the way through, I
Yeah,
think, but
yeah.
for many, many years. He probably was,
I did
yeah.
one
He
at the
was there for
Pyramid
many of
Club,
them.
and it's funny, I had Static come with me as one of the homies.
Wait,
I
say
had,
that
like,
again?
the second one that I did, I had Static come with me as just, like, one of the
Oh, that's
homies to
dope.
support, you know what I mean?
Do you remember when that was? Like what year that was?
It's, like, 5 years ago, at least.
Oh, so not that long
Not that
ago.
long ago, not that long ago, because the thing was I did an iStandard early on when I lived in New Hampshire, and I was like it was weird. I was, like, trying to learn how to make trap beats and to, like, make trap/boom bap, and, like, I was trying to, like, open my horizon, just really learn more stuff, so if it came in, I would know how to do it. Yeah, and I was just, like, trying these new things, and I did the iStandard to see if I was doing a good job at it, and they had, like, some very just whatever, non-biased. I honestly love iStandard, but, like, that first one that I did, everyone was like, "Yeah, it's cool, but yeah, it's cool, but," like, it wasn't like I couldn't do
You wanted
anything.
people to go
Yeah, I
in.
want people to
You wanted
go in
people to
on
be
me, and it was like Scram
right.
Jones and a couple other people.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah, and they were like Scram Jones was like, "Yo, just don't put too much 808." And then someone was like, "Oh, yeah, just this, just that." And I was like, I didn't really learn much from it. But then later on, I did one where I was like, "All right, I'm past this, but I wanna do it just to fucking do it." You know what I mean? And I got
I
in.
did that a couple times myself.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Let me just see what's up." And I didn't win. I got second place because this other kid got first place, and this other kid, it was hilarious. He was wearing like overalls and like had this whole like shtick to him. And they told me and everybody he got first place because he's got a whole look.
I remember on those old shows too, like you were on stage and like you could move around. So
Yeah,
like I
yeah,
don't know if
yeah.
that like I didn't do that. I just stood there like this. Like you know what I
Yeah, I
mean? Like
was
I
just
didn't
up
dress
there.
crazy. Like
There was a really
yeah.
old school producer there. I mean, not producer, engineer. There was like this old white guy, older white guy that just looked like he doesn't do any hip hop. And I was like, oh, he knows how to engineer. Yes. Okay, cool. And I was like, and we came to him, and I even said right when before he spoke, I was like, I'm looking for what you say. I was like, because you've torn everybody apart. I want to see what you say. And he was like, yo, you killed it. And then he even said something like, oh, it's this and that. And then after the iStandard, I told him how I learned by interning and getting yelled at and like all this stuff and whatever. And he was like, that's the fucking best way to do it. He's like, that's the best way. Just throw yourself in there, get yelled at, do the intern stuff, be someone's whatever, and all this. And I was like, yes. All right, I'm doing the right thing. And that's what I got from the iStandard that time.
One more static thing too. It's actually just coming to me now. I did a track lib contest a couple years ago, and this was, I think, like the second. It might have been the first or
Was it
second
in
one
New
they did the
York?
static. No, it was all online. It was just like a
Oh,
track
okay. Because
lib
I was gonna say
sample,
we did
like
a track.
sample
I
chop.
remember we did a track lib thing together.
He was the judge. He was like the judge. So there's like the one guy that hosts. His name is he used to go by, I think, Beats by Danny.
Huh?
Really good guy. I met him down in New York once too. Really good guy. And Static was the judge. I'm like, oh, this is funny. This is coming full circle from
Yeah,
2008
yeah,
to
yeah,
like
yeah.
2023. It's like 15 years later. So the beat that I have that I use for that is the beat that I use for the podcast, and it ended
No
up being
way.
that one. Yeah, just and it was like everybody, had the same sample from TrackLib, really dope sample,
Okay,
and
so
it's
everybody had to
very
just flip the same sample
yeah.
type thing. Okay.
And you had to submit through like a Discord, and then the next 10 went on, and like I got to the next 10, and it's the beat is very boom bap choppy. What I would think is right up Static's alley. It's kind of primo-ish, like it
Yeah.
has that just old school '90s boom bap because it's like a chop challenge. So I'm like, I want to kind of make it sound
Right, right.
choppy,
You
like it
wanna
was
make it
made in
sound like
MPC
a
kind of
chop
thing.
challenge. Yeah, I get it.
Right. So, they're playing all the beats, and I could tell he was like really liking him. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is dope, like really classic
Uh-huh.
sounding." And then I went to the next one, and then they're doing the finals. And then number 3, I think they might even like 4, 3, 2, 1. 3, and then he's like, "All right, the next." He's like, "All right, so because he's the only one that's
That's
judging. Like it's
crazy,
just
the
one
only one.
judge."
They normally have
And it's
multiple.
and he's like, "All right, the next it's in between, Ab The Audicrat and then this guy." And he was kind of like, it's kind of like a toss up. And I'm sitting there like,
Oh, no.
and
Yeah,
then,
yeah, yeah.
and then I came in second, and then like the other guy, and I'm like,
That's kinda
no.
what happened to
I was
me.
like,
That's kinda
God.
what happened to me. They were like,
Yeah, I was
"Yo,"
like, God damn it.
like, even the engineer and everybody was like, "Yo, your shit is ill. Like, I can tell you don't have the quantize on, like, you're doing real boom bap." But they were just like, "This kid's got more of a looks than you."
I think with this one, the dude that won, his beat was a little more like it was like more drawn out. There was a little bit more of like a build up
Mhm.
and kind of like I wouldn't say like an orchestral kind of feel, but it was much grander, I guess. When mine was just a little like way
More
more just
regular,
in your
old
face,
school.
punchy. Yeah, yeah. So and again, like it is what it is. It's really cool. But I was like this close. I'm like, 15 years later, I almost got the W all the way back
Yes.
from like the first beat battle I did,
Yeah,
and like
but
I was.
2nd place is ill,
No, it
though.
was good.
2nd place is
It was
ill,
good, it
bro.
was
I don't
fun.
even care.
No, it was cool. No, 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 it was great, and it was awesome having him be the judge, just checking it out and getting props from mad years
Mhm.
later, and, it's, just a quick story, just speaking on
I love
Static
that.
because that didn't actually come to me until I'm like, "Actually, well, he was a judge in this
That's
other one
right.
too." Segueing to Termanology, so I was gonna ask about that. I know you've been are you still at the Time Is Money studio?
I'm still
Is that a big
partially
part of
at
what
the
you're
Time
doing
is
down
Money
there?
studio. I don't really have enough time to be there these days, but I'll still do like a session with like a client that I had for a long time that only wants to work with me, or I'll do a session, like me and Lord Skull will cook up there, me and Life of Tom will cook up there, me and Dirty Sanchez will cook up there, like when it's doing my own stuff. And then when it's like just hanging out with the guys, like, I wanted to go see Term and Static. But I'm not doing the
'Cause when they came on though, or when that opened, you were there.
when
Were
I
you not
was
were you
there, I
like the head guy,
opened
right?
it as the main engineer, only engineer, and I was there every single day, all day long, doing sessions with strangers, the whole nine. It's right on the Bushwick and Ridgewood Queens line, so it's right off the Jefferson Ave stop, which is a really dope stop because it's like there's a lot of tacos, taco trucks, there's a liquor store right there. There's a deli. There's all these different things. There's some clubs. So it's a really great location. It's a smaller studio, but it's a dope studio to work out of, to be honest.
Is it Static and Term?
No.
Is it like
So
both of their
Static Studio is right
Term?
next door.
Oh, dope. Because
Yeah.
I've seen him do, like that's there. Like, 'cause I've seen a ton of, a lot of big names obviously have been through
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen
So
Term
like
post
we'll
about
have
it,
like
and
somebody might roll through Static Studio and then they'll roll through ours, or we're doing radio there and then we want to have the same person at our studio to record a track or whatever it may be, vice versa.
but I know you got an album with Term, and you've had a bunch of tracks with him
Me and
over
Terma,
over the
yeah, we've
years,
done
but
so much together.
yeah, so many. And I love that record you did with, Lord Sko. I was just
Lifelike?
listening at the gym today. Oh my god, so
Thank you.
dope. I love that. That got a lot of plays, man. I mean, it
Lifelike
got I
was
think
his
I was seeing
biggest
on
song.
Spotify, yeah, a couple 100,000 on Spotify. I'm sure more over all the other,
And I
platforms.
would
Is
say
there a music video too or no?
it's his biggest song on IG. Like he never had any.
That was big when it popped. I remember, man, it was
A
getting
lot
shared
of
like
people,
crazy.
because this is the thing, is a lot of people were looking at him. He's a young kid, you know what I mean? All that, and they were seeing what he was gonna do, and that was the one. I'll say this right now. That was the one track where he was like, people said, "Oh shit, he's really taking this seriously. He's really doing it. I fuck with his style." There was other tracks that he did, of course, and I don't want to take away from what he's done before or after, but that was one track that really like made a stamp for him. I think not just with fans, but with his peers.
Yeah, it was getting I remember seeing it getting plays
Yeah,
everywhere. I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah, no,
damn,
it
this
was
shit is
crazy.
taking
I was like,
off.
"Holy
Like,
shit!" That was
oh
through
yeah,
Rock Nation, and that was his
yeah, oh
song
yeah,
too.
and
It wasn't a It was his song.
And he seems to keep getting bigger too. I mean, I see him with a lot of posts with New York Nico, and
Oh, he's been
I know they
killing
got
it. Yo,
some
Sko,
other thing they got
fucking
going on
love
too. So I
Sko.
don't know the full. Yeah, I don't know the full scope because I know they have a podcast, but yeah, he seems to be kind of blowing up in his own right as well.
Yeah, no, he's doing great. I love that kid. He's such a good kid. He's doing great. I mean, I say kid, but he's like the oldest 21-year-old I've ever met in my life.
He's only
He's
21.
21 years old.
Oh wow,
Yeah, yeah.
I knew he was younger. Like I definitely knew he was younger. My
He's very
age, I
mature
can't tell.
though, and he's a big kid too. He's a big dude. Yeah,
Oh, is
he's
he?
like
Okay.
6 foot something. You know what I mean? He's a bigger person. The only thing is his facial hair.
I didn't realize how young he was, but I'm a
Yeah,
fan, man. I
21. I'm so
really, I
proud of
mean,
him.
that track kind of put me onto him. Otherwise, I mean, I probably would have heard of him maybe one way or another, but that track definitely, I like that a lot. I was bumping that. I think I even ran that back twice today.
Yeah,
I
no,
love that shit.
that's
That
what
shit's real
happened with
dope.
him in that track.
So yeah, it's real dope. You get to work with, you've got to work with a ton of artists. You got, placements on a ton of albums, a lot of people on your own records.
A lot of mostly people on my own records, to be honest. I have placements, but I say like the most placements that I have are on my own records.
Oh, it's like people getting on
Yeah,
yours
yeah,
more
more
than the
so
other way
than
around.
regular
Yeah.
placement. Like I have regular placements and stuff like that. Like I got a ton with Term. I got the joints with Lord Sko, with this and that, blah 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 blah, whatever. But I would say I have most of the artists that are, especially the really big ones, are going to be on my track.
And that might even be where my mind's going with it anyway, because I know you got the album with like UFO Feb, which is dope. The Gentleman's Board album, and even what's the other with I always forget the one with the picture of yourself. It's like a painting.
Yeah, Tabula Rasa.
Yes, and yeah, you got a ton of features, ton of people. I
Yeah, yeah.
think
Like I got Rolling Streets
Razkaz
on
on that
both.
too.
Tag, Razkaz, all these guys.
You've been crushing it for a while now. You got any? Do you have any other albums like on the horizon? I'm sure there's
Oh
always
yeah.
something
No,
cooking
I
one
have
way
so
or
much
another.
music on the come up right now. A lot of singles right now. To be honest, I'm trying to
Nice.
really focus on singles right now.
Yeah, that seems to be the way, man. Last year I did that. I had a handful of singles I did with some
Yeah,
people, and it's just like the way to stretch everything
it
out. And then it's
is.
almost backwards now, where like you do a bunch of singles, then just drop the album after
Yeah.
you get the traction from all the singles. Because backwards, it's like people just almost, I hate to say it, but like a lot of people don't care to listen to 15 tracks the way they
No,
used
of
to.
course not. Of course not. And I was very against doing the singles thing because I was, again, like I learned from the old school way of making beats. So I have this old school 90s mentality with me just in general, especially with my mentors, with Preem, Term, Static, all being my mentors. Like I have this old school way of being. But in the same sense, I was like, you know what? Let me take some advice. Ian Schwartzman told me, "Hey, it's not about the what you're doing or anything like that. It's about your algorithm. So just release, 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 but do it consecutively. So don't do 1 week, then a month. Do every week or every 2 weeks or every month." And that's what really got me this year in 2026. Right at the beginning of the year, I lost my laptop, lost all these drives, all these
Oh,
kind of
I
things.
remember you posted about
Yeah,
that. Oh,
all
it's
this
so
stuff. So
bad.
then I was like,
Yeah.
you know what? I gotta go hard, bro. And that's exactly what I did. Like I found the songs that I had from those missing drives, and then I created more songs. And it's like it's the most music I've ever put out in my life right now.
That's really the name of the game now. It's if you're not a very, very big name that can warrant dropping an album and selling a ton of merch, you really do have to,
You
like
got
you
to do a
said,
lot.
it's much more about you got to do a lot, but what you said, it's really just consistency on scheduling or every week,
Scheduling,
every
it's
other
not
week.
even just yeah, it's not even just the consistency of like, oh yeah, you're dropping a lot of music. It's like, no, but what days are you dropping the music? How often are you dropping the music? Are you doing it on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Fridays? You know what I mean? Like which day are you doing that on? Spotify needs to recognize you.
And you put out quite a bit of music and you're very consistent with it too, where it's funny over the years, I've kind of fallen back for, in terms of putting out as much actual finished songs. And I've fallen a little bit more into, like beat videos and now podcasting. And I'm
More
going to try to
content
do a lot
stuff.
more YouTube. Yeah. And like, I wish I was a little bit more heavy in the music, but it's funny. A lot of the people that I've made tracks with over the years, married, kids, maybe they're not working as much and I'm not in the city. So it's a little bit
It's
harder.
hard to
So
get
that's
in with the
why I've
city
kind of,
guys. Yeah, yeah. It
yeah,
is. It
so
is.
without being down there, it's like I kinda just gotta focus on, okay, that might not be the path right now. So this year, for me, it's a lot more gonna be a focus on the podcast, more YouTube content. Obviously, I'm gonna still be making beats, But you know, I can tell you're definitely very on top of all that. And you have, you know, a ton of albums out. You can see them all, and they're all, you know, full lengths. And I think it's a good thing to maybe switch it up and start doing a lot of singles.
Yeah,
That's
the
what a lot of
singles are
people are
fun,
doing, and
and you
it's
get to
and
focus
you can just
more.
stretch out the content. You can make and you can do so much with the one single. I mean, even if you have a video, you can do that. You can chop that up to many social
Mhm.
clips. You can do behind the scenes. You can like you do that
Yeah,
too,
so
behind the
now
beat.
I'm doing
Yeah, it's
that too,
like
like, I didn't do a
yeah,
video for Life of Tom and Me, but, like, we did a single, and then, like, 2 weeks later, we did the behind the beats of the song,
yeah, it's
you know?
perfect.
So it's, like,
Yeah, it's
it's dope,
perfect.
it's you can do so much with it. You can do it just as much as almost just as much with a single as you can do with the album.
I was putting out instrumental singles last year. That was like a thing, and like
Mhm,
every week for many, many weeks I did that. And like I was noticing some traction, but then I started doing beat breakdowns of those. You know, it was tricky because there's no artists on there and they're not necessarily hits.
mhm.
So it's kind of hard to do a beat breakdown on something that, you know, I think when you think beat breakdown, it's more of a song with an artist that has
Yeah,
more of a
yeah.
story. So I kind of shied away from that. But to your point though, when you have like an artist on the song with you, that's a really good thing to do is the behind I think so at least, like, to pair with the singles
Oh,
because
yeah.
there's 2 people, there's more to talk about, so I kind of it's funny, I pulled back from doing it, just on the beats, but I think it's a really good thing for you to do that with the full
Yeah,
songs for
yeah, no,
sure.
definitely. Even if it's the one that was like new, like I did one of like me and Dirty Sanchez, like my biggest song, Divine Time with Dirty Sanchez, and we did that. That was dope. That was the biggest song I've ever done.
Next up, DJ Premier, one of the GOATs, if not the GOAT. I mean, he's my
If
personal
not.
favorite all time, producer. Yeah, of course. Tell us about how that got started, how you link with him. I know you've been working with him for a while now. I know you were on tour with him and Alchemist, which
My
is amazing as
God.
well. If you wanna speak on that, that would be dope.
Yeah.
So how'd that come to be?
So, you know what's funny is like Preem, like you want to like get your music to all these people, you want to like show them what you do. But when it came time to Preem, I was like, I can't do that. Like I can't even say, "Oh, look, I'm a producer, blah, blah, blah." Like, I couldn't even bring myself to do that. So I was like, I looked at him more as like a regular person, more as like wanting to be his friend. And then like when I met him, I kind of caught this vibe for him that I was like, I could like he's a cool dude, you know what I mean? And after meeting him a couple times, he would be like, "Yo, I see what you're doing. You know, I know what you're doing, blah blah blah. I see the music you're putting out this and that." And then when it came time to Tabula Rasa, started sending him my music and he started playing it. And he would play everything that I sent him almost. And I was like, mind blown. Like, what is going on, dude? And then what was actually, backtrack a little bit, he was playing my placements. So he would play like he played a song with Bobby J from Rockaway that I did on a Statik Selektah album and I had the B-side records on it. And he played that. Nobody sent it to him, nothing. He just found it. Same with I think it was Term and Easy Money and maybe Fabian, I want to say. And he played that one, I think it was called Radio Killed. And it was like the super grimy underground B-side record, not a standout at all of Term's record, Vintage Horns. And I would just DM Preem and be like, "Yo, like I made that beat. Like I made that beat
Yeah.
and all this stuff." And he's like, "That's cool. I only play stuff that I like." And I'm like, "All right, cool. Bet." And then,
And he definitely does, you can
yo,
tell that.
he
I've seen all the
only
interviews
plays
with
what he
it's
likes.
yeah, he's only playing what yeah,
He's
exactly.
not playing
That's no
anything,
doubt
you know what
about
I mean?
that.
He's not like
No.
any of these other DJ I mean, not any, but like a lot of the other DJs that are playing what they should. He's playing what he wants. And it's really dope to see that, and it was really cool to hear that, and it felt like I was doing the right thing, you know what I mean? Like, it felt like, "Okay, I'm on the right path." And then me and Term opened up the studio, life goes on, we're doing our thing, blah, 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 whatever. And then one day, Term is like, "Yo, Preem's asking about you." And I'm pretty sure Preem talked to Static, and then he talked to Term, I wanna say, and they was like, "Yo," because like, he knew that I was running all the sessions for Static, and I was getting all these different, credits for engineering with Static on all of his records. And then that started happening with Term too, but Static was first. And then so Term was like, yeah, he wants to talk to you about maybe working for him. And I was like, wait,
Yeah, it's amazing.
what are you talking about?
Best news of your life, yeah.
Yeah, like, what are you even talking about, bro? And I couldn't even handle it. And then he's like, yeah, but he owned like it has to be face to face. And I was like, bro, come on. I've only met him like twice in my life. And I'm like, why? Oh, man. So, like, then it was just like, all right. He was like, hey, I'm going to go see I'm going to go see Preem. Can you come with me? And I'm like, dude, I'm in Maine with my family. Oh, I can't do it. Or like, oh, I'm doing this. I can't. And I think he saw him like 1 to 2 times. And then he brought me there with him. And we didn't have the conversation. And I remember leaving and being like, yo, Term, I thought we were going to have a conversation. And he's like, I don't know, bro. You gotta just, you just gotta wait it out, this and that, blah, blah, whatever. But when I saw him, he put me on his radio show too. I was there with Term, and then he interviewed me for my thing. And I was like so nervous. I'm so hype. I'm all these different emotions and everything. And then one day I just got a call from him, and he was like, "Hey, can you do a session for somebody, for Tef from MLP, and he's gonna come to your studio?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then I got a call, and then we wrapped that up, whatnot, and then I got another call from him. Hey, can you come in? And I went in, and I remember telling him because he uses Pro Tools 8.
Even now?
He uses both now. So, like, his older sessions, he has a system that's set up on Pro Tools 8. For his newer sessions, he has the new Pro Tools.
Pre-Pro Tools 10, it was way different. I
Way,
think I
way,
remember
way
10
different.
10 10 was like a
Yeah,
jump.
10
Yeah, I
was a
remember
big
that.
jump, and I remember telling him,
Yep.
like, "Yo, I've never used Pro Tools 8, and I've never used a mixing board before. I've only done in the box." And he was like, "That's fine. It's cool. Thank you for being honest," all that kind of stuff. And I remember going in there and we were vocal comping. I can't say who it is, but a really, really, really big singer. And I was a vocal comping and we were picking out all the different things. And then I didn't get a call from him for a while. And then I remember calling him, being all in my feelings and insecure, and all this stuff, and being like, hey, did I do something or what am I supposed to do? I don't know what to do. And he was like, oh, you're just supposed to call me every day to tell me what your schedule looks like. And I was like, "Oh, well, I wish I knew that for one. I would have been doing
Oh, so he
this."
he thought you just weren't calling
Yeah,
him.
he thought I just wasn't calling him, and I wasn't hungry enough. So then I started calling him every day, and I started going in every day, and it was just crazy. And then, now I'm his official tour manager. I travel the world with him. He's one of my best friends. Like, we have a beautiful relationship, working, non-working, all this. But he's shown me the world now. And like he first time I ever went overseas was with him. First time I ever mixed a really big band in a really big place was with him. A lot of firsts are with him. And I've had to learn that. And he's had to show me and he's trained me and he's done this and he's done that. And it's been this amazing journey.
Yeah, it's just priceless. It's such an amazing story to be able to link with him like that. And tell us about the tour with Alchemist too a little bit if you can.
Oh my
Because
God.
I was watching that day to day, and I'm
Were
like, damn, this is
you?
Neff behind the scenes the whole time. Like,
Dude.
yeah, because I'm a huge fan. They're like I mean, Alchemist is
Yeah,
another
they're
one,
top.
top 5 for me.
They're
Like,
top tier.
yeah, like I love Alchemist. Yeah,
Having them at the same time was crazy, and I remember being so nervous about it because I'm like, dude, they're both my goats. Like, they're both my heroes, and I'm about to hang out with them. Like, Preem, I know him, but Alchemist, I don't know him from a hole in the wall. You know what I mean? I met him a few times. I had a couple conversations with him, but I didn't really know him, if that makes sense. So it's like,
yeah,
and
sure.
then like we start touring, and I start learning. I started doing more things and it's like I learn what they need for their particulars. And then it just became this flow and it was so dope. We're like in a different city, not even different city, different country every day. The routing was fucking insane. So we were like going here to there to here to there to here to there. And, I'm like, I'm in charge of all of it. I'm the dad. You know what I mean? And even Alchemist and Preem both said, dude, you are our dad for this. You're parenting 4 men. 4 grown men right now because it was me, Alchemist, Preem, Space Ghost, and Lago, our driver slash like my assistant. He's ill with me. And then I learned a lot from Space Ghost too because he tours a lot with Alchemist. So I learned Alchemist particulars, what do's and don'ts, and what they've done, what they haven't done, all that kind of stuff. But it was so dope. I loved it. It was just like, you talk to a different promoter every other day. You come up with a game plan every day. You have to be like, all right, lobby call this time. Okay, we're leaving this time. We're coming back this time. We're gonna go eat at this time. This is what we're gonna eat. Like it's every little single solitary detail that you have to be on top of. And these are the artists. Like it doesn't matter what I'm going through. It's the artists. I'm there for them. So it was really dope. It was a really humbling experience. It was a really selfless experience. I got to party and go have fun too, but like for the most part, it's like you're really there for another person. I'm not there as Neff. I'm there as, I'm there being called Neff, but I'm more there as Jonas Parent. Like I'm more there as my regular self, just being this person that can help these artists. And we're doing a pop up. I'm not going to take my vinyl and sell it there. That's their thing. I'm not going to try to get my name out there because I'm here for them. I'm here to make sure that they're great, that they can do what they need to do, and that they can perform at their top 110%.
And not only is it like two of the biggest names ever, but it's them on tour
Oh,
in multiple
together.
locations together on a big tour in Europe, and you're the
And I'm
manager,
the
which is
manager.
just it's just
It was
incredible. Yeah, that's
crazy,
such
and we got
so
through it.
amazing.
We got through it, and it was dope.
The shows looked insane. They're everybody, he was posting videos, you were posting videos, like the crowds are just going
Every
nuts.
day
Like
the
it's
crowd
just
would get better. It was so nuts.
insane crowds. Every show looked
No,
insane.
every show was
Everyone I could see,
beautiful.
or at least the clips I could see
Yeah, and
online,
those clips don't
it looked
lie.
crazy. Yeah, it looked crazy, man. Like that's such a dope experience to have. Really
One of the
dope.
biggest experiences I've ever had in my life, and it was incredible. And also, just, like, not seeing my kid for 6 weeks, you know what I mean? Like,
Right, yeah, you were out. It was
it
that
was
long. Wow,
6
6
weeks, it was
weeks. Wow.
29 cities, and that's really hard to do. Most people will tell you that's impossible.
Brady Watt.
Mm,
I know he's doing great things with Bass and Bars, that whole series, and I know and this is why I want to ask because I know you help him with that. I'm
yeah,
not quite sure the in and out of what you're doing. I don't know if you're doing the video recording. I'm pretty sure you're doing the mixing for
mm,
those. But how did you link with him? Where is that going, and what kind of experience has that been? Because I know he just posted his one with Fat Joe,
oh my
and
god,
it just
that's so dope, leveling up.
he seems to just keep on leveling up. So tell
He
us about
really
that.
does. I'm so proud of Brady, he just keeps leveling up more and more. I got with Brady towards the later when he started really leveling up, when he got like the big productions, not just big artists, because he always had big artists with it. But me personally, and I could be wrong about this, but I feel like when he started leveling up his production on everything is when I started coming in. And that was strictly because of Premier, because he's signed by Premier. Premier is one of the owners or one of the people that has helped start with bass and bars, all that kind of stuff. He was doing them, and I was working with Preem, and there was a studio manager there at the time, KC, shout out KC, and he was doing some of those, and then I kind of just started taking over the position a little bit, and he was doing more teaching. I was doing more engineering with these guys. Um, but what's funny is like I met Brady Watt in Nashua, New Hampshire when he was like this guy that had gone to New York City and made it, and he was coming back to go perform at a small club and to see his family and all this kind of stuff. And I opened up for him. And I remember meeting him and Decap.
Oh, dope! I love Decap. Yeah, I have a ton of his drum
Yeah, so
kits.
him and Decap were really tight at that time, and they both came from Nashua. And so I remember opening up for them. They had did a set together, and I was just DJing. I used to always just like be the DJ for the house, you know what I mean, with local shows. And then, fast forward many years later, I'm going into Kaufman Studios with Preem, and Brady's there in his back room doing stuff, and I'm like, oh, from New Hampshire too, and all this and everything. And we just started linking. And what I do for him is 95% of the time, 90% of the time, I'm recording the audio. My boy Quiz, shout out Quiz from Time Is Money. He's taken over my job at Time Is Money. So big shout out to him. I met him in Boston. He's super dope. Worked with a lot of cats. I've got him on a lot of different things now too. But when I started working with Preem more and I stopped being able to be at Time Is Money, really, I brought him on to take over the session so we could still keep Time Is Money open and, put some money in his pocket, all this kind of stuff. And he does them sometimes, but for the most part, I'm doing the field recording. So I'm setting up the mic. We got this Zoom L12 that I love mixing on. It's like a mixing board that's portable type of thing. And I'll record the audio and then shout out Poe. Poe is the one that does the video. So it's me, Poe, and Brady are like the team for Bass and Bars. We are like the three amigos for Bass and Bars. Poe does all the shooting and the editing. I do all the audio and all the mixing and mastering. So then once it comes, like even if my boy Quiz does some of the recording, I'm still mixing and mastering it. So I'm owning it. You know what I mean?
You seem to keep getting into the right spots, the
I
right time,
do.
with the right people, man. It's amazing. It goes to show moving to New York, man. A really good move by you.
No, moving to New York is the biggest thing that ever happened.
You know what I think people do mistakenly, and some people, maybe they can't afford it, and so there's all types of reasons why you might not be able to make a move. But I think it's hard too because people might think you can do everything online, and you might be able to.
You could,
but nothing. Nothing will ever beat. Nothing exactly. Nothing will ever beat just moving to the Mecca. Like you said, going to shows, going to places to give out beat tapes. Like nothing will ever replace that. It really is. Some things are that simple. Like not to actually doing that is a little bit harder, but in theory, it's like
no. When you dumb it down, it's like really, if you just move there, you're gonna be good. Not good. You gotta do all the right things. You gotta sacrifice. Mad sacrifice. You got to not care about anything else besides this.
That's great to hear. You're doing good, man. I mean, you seem to constantly be, putting yourself in position, knowing the right people.
Mm-hmm.
Working with Preem is amazing. Going on tour with him and Alchemist.
Beautiful.
Obviously, your relationship with Statik and Term is great. Yeah, man. Just congrats on all your success thus far. And do you have anything else that you might want to plug or let the people know about before we wrap up?
Yeah,
here?
I mean, so I have the Gentleman's Board, which is going to be, we talked about earlier. It's going to be a community.
Right, yes, I meant to hit on that too. So go ahead.
On
Yeah.
School, which is a dope app. It's kind of like, I hate to say the word Patreon, but it's kind of like Patreon in the sense of it being a community. But this is very geared towards classes, is geared towards one-on-ones, is geared towards like a virtual class where I'll have multiple people in there and I'm doing it like a Zoom, but it's not with Zoom, it's with the actual company. So it's dope. It's awesome. My sister's been helping me build it out. I got a lot of content in there, a lot of gems in there, a lot of firsthand experience that I wish that I had when I was younger. That's the biggest thing is like I felt like I was trying to learn from these guys that lived in the Midwest that like never had real hands-on experience and they were just like doing the guessing game and like doing whatever. And I was like, nah, and maybe they learned and they figured out the internet, but I wanted the realness. You know what I mean? I wanted to have that. So that's what I did.
I've been looking to dabble in a little bit more with maybe setting up sessions with random people just for consulting, just like, hey, free half hour. I've been thinking about doing that a couple times a week, but that's awesome that you're doing that. I want to check that out you said it's on School, right?
Yeah.
That's the name of the app.
SKOOL.
Yeah, man. Glad to talk to you. Really good conversation. I hope to have some repeat guests too in the future.
I love that.
So
hey, I got to level up and come back.
I've been thinking about maybe doing some shorter pods where it's maybe just a 10, 15 minute clip on YouTube of something very specific. So
I love
more
that.
of like a current
I'll be
event
down
thing.
to do anything.
I'll be in touch, man. Always great to talk to you. You have an amazing story, and I wish you the best moving forward.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for
Appreciate
coming
being on here.
and yeah, of course. And thank you everybody for listening. We are out.
Peace.